And I am preparing to bring everything together. And yay! So now we go to get blinded by the light back here. Yeah. That's kind of bright. Straighten up the towel on Buzzbutt's bed. And, this is useful for cleaning this. Now, since no one is watching live right now, I can go ahead and say that since you're watching on YouTube, don't forget, hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. And any cubic photon is just magic for making miniatures. I mean, blink, 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 miniature. That's exactly how it goes. And the sound effects are clinical scientific terms. But here in just a few minutes, I'll be talking to my patron, who's not here yet, but he's going to be. And I'm going to be sculpting an assassin for him. Ooh. Hashishayan. But not a cultist of Kali, but rather the, typical killer. But we gotta wait for everyone to show. And well, that should do it. Now, this was basically something I used. I put terrain pieces like the hinges on to prime them with spray primer and paint them on. For those of you who recognize it, yes, this is a box from Ziltech filament. I'm still a fan of Ziltech. Period, end of story. And yeah, obviously not much use when I'm actually, sculpting, but wonderful use while I'm printing. Anyway, while we are waiting on our patron, there we go. And hello, there is our patron. Cristobal Donoso Yanez. I'm guessing I kind of mangled the pronunciation of that. Just a little bit. Maybe. Anyway, welcome. I'm not going to be able to show the... yeah. I'm not going to be able to show the reference image that you sent simply because, copyrighted. And the fact that it's only going to be inspired by. Sound good to you? Now I need to know, do you want this to be a fantasy version? Pseudo-medieval. Do you want it to be science fiction / superhero? Or do you want it to be not done by my little buddy Ralph here, No, 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 no. Nope. Ah! Ralph, what are you doing? Ralph, what are you doing? He's so feral, isn't he? Yeah. Okay. Little buddy, you gotta get down. I can't have you behind me when I'm trying to work, okay? No. No. Oh, come on, little buddy. Let's get you down. No, no, no more Velcro. There you go. Scoot. Ah. He's one of three. One of them's normally up here, but she's eating lunch right now. Okay, so, do you have an idea, first of all, what kind of weapon will your assassin be using? And also, I'm assuming male, simply because the reference image you sent me was male. And yet, I'm still, despite being washed multiple times, the paint that I got on here is still stuck. Yeah. Alright, by bow, do you mean bow staff? And katanas, dual katanas or katana and wakizashi? Or a single katana? Okay. And also, do you want a simple mask? Do you want a hood? Or do you want a helmet? Hey, little girl. Yeah. Oh, great. Shinju's hyper. The cat that's normally sleeping right here in the sun is hyper. She looked up, bounced, and sprinted right out. Mask and hood? It can be. If we do that, how about the hood be back, instead of being hood over mask, because that will leave this area just pretty much just no detail there, because it would be, whereas if the hood's back, you can have a nicely detailed mask. Fuzzball, will you calm down? This came sprinting across my desk, knocking stuff over right and left. Okay, so I assume this means you also want the cape. Alright. So, what we're going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and pop on over to what I use for posing. And what that is, Daz Studio. What I did, for those who aren't familiar, I created my own original geometry figures, male and female. And there goes the fuzzbutts again. Do you mind, little baby girl? Hey, calm down. She's hyperactive. No, not standing on the tower. You could hit the power switch. It's okay. Calm down, little baby girl. Yeah. Anyway, my original geometry male and female figures, and I rigged them for posing in this program called DAZ Studio. One advantage of it, that I'm about to show you, is that, well, let's make sure he's selected. I'm going to scroll down to Katana. Do you want it in his right or his left hand? I will note that my weapons do tend to be a little large sometimes. Just calm down, little baby girl. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to a back view, select the katana, and make sure that I've got, okay, I don't have the center in the right place. So grab here. While I'm thinking about it, let's move it up like that. Right view. Yeah, it's a bit too big, so it's, whoop, no. There. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to shrink it a bit, because that is a little large for a katana. The weapons will tend to be large in general, simply because, well, you know, we're making them for print, not for actual real-world katanas. Yeah, that's about right for a katana. Okay. And what I had asked about the hood and mask is I suggested that the hood be down, and that I assume that you also want your cloak. Is that correct? Okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and click on the cloak. Now, right now it looks more like a superhero cape. But one thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be selecting those. We're going to be making it a little bit shorter because we're going to be chopping it up. And then this a little bit shorter. There. Since we're going to be chopping it up and stretching pieces out, it'll be easier when it's like that. Now we're going to hide the cloak and the katana. You'll notice that when I loaded the katana, it automatically posed the hand around it. So now we need to come up with the actual pose he's going to be in. Do you want him just kind of standing there? Do you want him in the middle of a fight? Do you want him leaping up or leaping down? What sort of pose are you looking for? Because it will change a few things on how I'm going to handle some of this. Hello, William! I will admit, Cristobal, despite living in a neighborhood that is about 65% Hispanic origin, I speak almost no Spanish. and 0 Portuguese. And that's the last can. So pose ideas. Any suggestions or concepts burbling about? Did I get disconnected? No, apparently not. Standing but alert. Okay. So like his sword is kind of down and... Oh, let's use this to represent the sword. So it's kind of down, kind of pointed forward. Maybe his left hand, like, kind of like this. Let me go back to... Okay, yeah. You can see what I'm doing, right? Whoops. As I knocked a spool off. Okay. Now, I've said this many times. Always, if you're ever making your own figures, when you pose, always make certain that the plane of the hip, the horizontal plane of the hip, and the horizontal plane of the shoulders are never parallel to each other and never parallel to the ground. Unless you're doing a marine in full attention. Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're just going to start off. Let's see if I have any basic shape lower bodies that we can use for this. Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and we apply this. Hit Control D. Then we're going to select from the chest up. Chest. Expand from selected. Go to all and twist, side to side, bend. And now just so that we can, let's make the abdomen also twist, side to side, bend. And then just so that we can have the hand back to where it was, we're going to load in another sword. But this one's going to be just to shape the hand around the katana. Alright, now, as you can see, the angle of the hips is very definitely not parallel to the wall. So what's going to happen now is we're going to bend forward. We're going to twist a little. The chest is going to bend forward. A little bit of side to side, just not a lot, just enough. We're gonna bring the neck kind of back like that, twist a little bit, twist it more from the head. Now we just need to pose the arms and collars. Alright, we need to bend the abdomen back just a little. That's a bit too much. Because we want it to be more of a curled torso. Now, as I sit here and kind of replicate the pose, I can feel my collar go back a little. So the right collar is going to go back just a little. It's going to go up. And it's not bending, it's not twisting there, it's twisting at the upper arm. Okay. So we're going to first bend the forearm. And now, well, first of all, let's lock that. Then we're going to bring this hand forward. And then let's unbend the forearm a little. And twist it a little bit, untwist it a little bit more. Now, we're going to twist this left collar a little. But we're going to drop it just down, just a tad. And twist the upper arm. Bend the forearm. Twist it just a little bit. And then bend up the hand. Alright, now we want to make this a bit more dramatic of a stance, so what we're going to do is I'm selecting this foot, and I'm going to pin it. I select this foot, and I'm going to pin it. And then I'm going to unpin the chest, because I got to move the hips now. We're going to go mostly, okay, we're going to come down a bit. And then we're going to come back along this line here. Oh, I screwed up one thing. I'm going to make sure that the shins have side to side locked. Because they're not supposed to, shins don't move side to side. Alright, so we're going to, like I said, come around this way. We're going to move down a bit. And then back a bit. Okay. And then we need to move it kind of back over the feet just a bit. Make sure he's balanced. And I need to turn the head just a little bit more. Okay. And here we have our basic form. Okay, what do you want me to do with the left arm? You want me to bring it further out? What do you want me to do with it? No, you cannot send links over here. I'm sorry. Right now, the only person that can is Kim, who's not here right now. And me. Wait a minute. I just discovered... Give me just a second here. I just discovered I made a boo-boo. I am currently not logged into my own channel under the proper account. Yeah, there we go. That helps. Okay, hold on just a minute. I cannot look at any images live on camera because of copyright reasons. So I had to come back to this. Okay. Okay, you want me to come back with the arm. I will say that will make a lot of the sculpting more difficult. Just as a, and it'll make painting a nightmare. So, you sure you want me to go back with that? Also, it'd mean bringing the sword forward. So, basically the arms would be the opposite of where they are now. Like I said, it would make it a lot more difficult to sculpt and a lot more difficult to paint. A lot more difficult to paint. Okay. Although, looking at it, I do think I'd probably be better off. Let me go ahead and repin the chest. And bringing the arm forward a bit. Yeah, it looks a little bit better. Then we make the cloak visible. And what we're going to do with the cloak I'm going to kind of swing it off to one side. And then it'll be floating back down on the lower portion. Also, let's make these just a little bit, yeah. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bend that side out and this side in. Actually, we need, that's a bit too much, so. Okay, next question is the cloak. Is the cloak too short considering we're going to be dragging parts of it out to make the torn area? You know, assume it's going to be about, well, about a quarter again as long. And in order to facilitate it being a mask, we got to make sure that this jaw is closed, because we're going to fuse it all together. Okay. Now I go to front view, and I make sure that these feet come down a bit. Unpin all. Okay. Front view, and we need to bring this foot up a bit, just because it needs to be up on the base. And then we're gonna bend it a bit more. I'm gonna bend this one down a bit more. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Actually, we're going to need to bend him forward a little bit because of the weight of the cloak. Okay, just a little bit. I was just asking about the cloak. Considering it's going to be a little bit longer than that because we're going to be dragging pieces out to be kind of torn and raggedy. Do you want it to be longer still, to where the bottom ends up touching the base, or do you, or down to about, well, here? Good. Excuse me. Also, okay, the other thing we need to do real quick, we need to choose a base. See, I've gotten a whole lot of textured bases that I can use. The earlier ones, now obviously the two on the ends on the bottom row and the one on the far left on the top row are more modern / science fiction. Well, no, I correct myself. The one on the near end here and far end there. The near end here is just a blank base. But then we have cobblestone and fancy tile, rock, wood, and grass. And then we have a Ralph. No, Fuzzbutt, let go of the shirt. Down you go. Go. We have bases here. Now, obviously, the metal gratings bases are pretty much sci-fi. This is intended to be like a planetoid, and the far left one is supposed to be like organic, like alien or something. But up there we have ancient tile, we have gravel and cracked earth. In the middle of this row we have a magic circle. No! Fuzzbutt, go! And on the far left on the bottom we have basically, it's like a kind of a swampland. It's hard to tell. It's water on part of the sides, with the center being earth. Well, the magic circle isn't so much Celtic as just generic random runic type stuff. It does tend to be a bit more European, because circles like that weren't really used in Asia, and I thought we were going for more of an Asian look since he's got a katana. Just to show you an example of them was used. I used it on my spell token figures about a week or two ago. But if you want the magic circle, cool. Okay, the magic circle it is. Alright, so what we're going to do then is we're going to go ahead and load it in now. Import. Bases. Magic circle. And what we have to do is we have to place it in the right spot for this character. We're going to start from... Okay, we need to bring it forward just a little. Just so that make sure that all of the weight is over center. And then we go to the front view. And we got to move it so that... Okay, we need to place it so that his feet are slightly in it. And also slightly balanced. There. Still too... Okay, I see what we gotta do. We gotta unbend this toe. Okay, there we go. And here he is on his base. Now let's bring this base forward just a little bit because it is there. Since most of the weight is over the base, it might tip backwards a little, but not a lot. Let's solve some of that by sliding his feet like that. There, it's a bit less likely to fall now. Okay, so that is what the base geometry we're going to be sculpting on. Now what I do is I go ahead and I hide all of the extra bits. And because this, when you hit export, this is going to be for Patreon minis, new. Assassin. When you export, exports everything visible. So, assassin body. Accept. I then hide him, make the katana visible. File, export, assassin katana. Hide it, make the cloak visible. File, export, assassin cloak. Accept. And then make the base visible. File, export, assassin base. And I switch to ZBrush. Now here I import from Patreon minis, new, assassin, the body first. Right, frame. Before I do anything else, one thing I'm going to do that's going to be a bit odd is I'm going to smooth out this area. Smooth out the nose a little bit. I'm not going to smooth out the chin. I mean the mouth. Yeah. I'm going to wait on doing that until I've fused it. But I am going to smooth out the ears. Let's bring it down a little. And by smoothing out the ears, we get more of like a look like he's actually wearing something. I'll smooth them out even more when we get him a bit higher resolution. Okay. Frame. And we also kind of want to smooth that just a little bit in the neck area. And right here. Okay, now we're going to load in what's called a subtool. A subtool, thank you. And we're going to import the cloak, is going to be the next thing. We're going to do another one for the katana. And then the last one for the base. And here we have the finality of it. However, we're going to hide everything but the body for right now. Go to geometry. We're going to subdivide it several times to be about 104 or 1.4 million polygons, and then Dynamesh of 768. The reason we're doing this now is because, among other things, it fuses it into a single solid surface, which helps us hiding the mouth to make it a mask, a full face mask. We're also going to smooth out where the nose is. And clean up the ear area a little bit. Then I am breaking out my tablet, my Wacom. I have reasons why I trust Wacom so far beyond anybody else. Okay, we're going to use the Move tool and make this a little bit bigger. And I'm going to grab here. Oh, too big. Grab here and kind of pull it out a little. To make it more like he actually has something under the mask and it's not just a smooth. There we go. And we need to kind of bring it over this way because it has a crooked frame. Gonna smooth this area out just a little and pull it out just a bit, just so that we get more of a okay. That looks bad from here, so we need to go ahead and clean it up just a little bit more by smoothing out this whole area. Then we're going to use slash, and we're going to make sure that we have lazy mouse turned off, and we're going to really decrease the intensity. We're going to kind of draw in that area, and then just a very faint smoothing. There we go. Then we're going to use a Z add, make it smaller and a little bit higher, and we're going to draw around the eyes to make it the eye holes in a mask. There we go. And thus we have the mask. Okay, now we're getting ready to do fancy stuffs. Alright, for the most part, he's wearing a bodysuit. Did I? Yeah, I did. I forgot to switch back to... Yeah. I have a bad habit of that. I really, really, really need to get a co-host that can do more with chat while I'm doing this. Anyway. we also need to smooth this out. Yeah. We don't want too much of a butt crack on the character. Yeah. Now, I'm going to have to go back and forth to make references to the image that you have for me. He's got boots and gloves, but from the neck to the knees and the elbows is a single solid piece, and he's got a belt on top of it. So, he's got armor on his forearms, some armor on his thighs, a little bit near his knees. Okay. Let's go back. I had to peek in and check. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off by doing the knees first. And what we're going to do for this, right now, polygon count is about 600,000. We're going to subdivide that. So that's 2.4 million. Or thereabouts, 2.397. And what this does, I'm going to be making right at the knees. Masking off where the top 2/3 of the boot is. And close that off. And I'm going to do the same up here. Actually, let me go ahead. I'm going to tilt it. By masking it off, what's going to happen is I'm going to use a feature of ZBrush called Extract. And what that does, it creates a duplicate of that geometry, but gives it a thickness, as you just saw. I accept it. Now it's partially masked, so I draw to just get rid of the mask. And then up here, I draw to get rid of his mask. Now, the next thing I do is I need to fuse the bottom portion of this boot into the top. So I'm going to geometry. I'm actually going to take a different method than usual. I'm going to adaptive size 50. Okay, now I make this bigger, and I am going to gently and lightly stroke across the bottom with a smooth brush so that it fuses in. There. And a little bit there. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just gently and softly until it fuses in. And clean up any harsh edges thus made. In fact, now that I've got that done, I'm going to reduce the strength of the smoothing so I can go right above and smooth these harder edges out. Okay. Frame. And then I'm going to subdivide it a few times. Okay, just so that it's smooth. I'm going to worry about fusing it all actually here in a little bit. Now, next thing is the gloves. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to kind of draw them straight at the elbow to almost the wrist. Although it would probably work better if I was doing it on the body and not the feet. And let's... Okay, and then same thing here, but I'm going to get a little bit closer so I can make sure that the center of this mask is right up on the elbow. Frame. Okay, yeah, that didn't come out where I wanted it. So, Control Z. I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. Shrink the mouse and draw the line. Come down all the way down to here. And just a little bit of zigzaggy to fill it in. Then I'm going to come from the inside of the elbow down there and come around this way and clean up the meat. Alright, now we have where the base of the gloves will be. We hit extract. We hit accept. Get rid of the masking on both sides. And then Z-remesher. Okay. Now, let's make the mouse bigger, not as big as last time. And let's make sure that it's pretty close to full. And we're going to very lightly and gently kind of stroke down towards the end until it fuses into the wrist. This is what we did with the boots. Okay. Then we're going to move over. You'll notice that because of the way I bent it, I did it on the elbow, the glove is actually bending at the elbow the way it really would. Now, for here, once again, we're going to come across and just lightly stroke down from about the center until it starts to fuse, and we're going to very faintly touch over where it meets up there. We're going to do a bit more here in a second as soon as we get the base bottom part done on both sides. And now we're going to reduce the intensity once again and just very faintly go over where it was getting some sharper edges. Now, I don't mean the catalog. Yeah, I just want to kind of make it look like it's one cohesive line, not an S-curve. Okay, now we're going to frame so we can see the whole thing. And as we did with the boot section, we're going to subdivide it a couple times. Now, we are going to merge down. Always okay. Merge down with the gloves, and now merge down with the boots. And now we're hitting Dynamesh. The reason for that is because that has now, because Dynamesh basically takes everything you've got and makes it a single solid surface, we now have it as a solid surface here, and we can go over it with the smooth tool and really make it a single sharp solid with no seam. Just, that's the gloves. We're going to do the same thing on this wrist. One thing that's good and bad about ZBrush, wherever you last drew on screen is where the center of rotation is. So on the one hand, that means that in situations like this, I can rotate it around the wrist that I was working on. But in others, it'll eventually move the whole thing off screen. Okay, so bring that up a little bit there. And just everywhere I see this kind of messy line, I'm just going to go over with the smooth brush. Which, for those who don't have ZBrush or are just learning, the smooth brush is, by default, just holding down Shift. It is not affected by this button, which remembers brush size by brush type and uses the size of whatever brush you're currently using. And there. Boots and gloves. The next thing is he needs a belt. Once he's got his belt on, and we can go ahead and start adding in some detailing. The last thing we're going to do is the cloak and hood. Okay, so we're going to need a slightly narrower belt than that, so we're just going to draw it on. Actually, let's go ahead and turn on Lazy Mouse just so that we can make it a nice smooth belt. Actually, we forgot one thing. We forgot to subdivide it. Okay. Now. His belt is not this prominent, huge, thick thing, so all we need is just a strap across the middle. It's the stuff hanging on it that's more important. And you'll notice I need to kind of fix this area. So I'm just going to draw a couple blank spots and then start from in here and then come this way. Okay. That's where his belt will be. His belt will be a little, excuse me, we extracted at 0.2 right now. It's a little thick, but that's good. Okay, before we do anything else, it's a good idea to go ahead and give a seam around the base of the mask. But we're not going to do the same way we did for the gloves and boots to make them look like a significantly different piece of fabric. This is going to be more like a seam where it becomes one piece. Now, okay, so whatever, if your head stroke, whatever is to the right of your stroke is the seam, whatever is to the left is the under piece. So we're going to drag it under here. 2. Yeah. And then there. The mask has a seam that connects where it connects to the rest of the suit. It's a really nice brush. It's one that is for purchase. It's not a free brush, sadly. Right now, he's looking like a generic superhero almost. Okay. Now what we need to do we need to go ahead and add in the belt buckle. And here we have another question. On the reference, everything that's on the belt is more modern and techy. Do you want to replace it with pouches and bags? And do you want to replace that technological belt buckle with an old-fashioned buckle or with a disc buckle? Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're choosing this, which is called disc buckle. Depth is too deep. It needs to be about 0. And we're going to just click in the middle and draw. And there we have our disc belt buckle. We're going to split unmasked parts, go down to it, and subdivide it a little, and dynamesh it. Now, is there anything you want on this buckle? Like a symbol or anything like that? You want, you've got something specific. It's a good idea. We are getting close to the point where it will be mostly detailing. Okay. Whoops, I need to go here before I do that. Because we don't want it. For those wondering, we're just waiting on a link to come through the Patreon messaging system. It's not instant. It's not like, you know, a chat room or Discord. Also, do you want the armor plates on the on the forearms, and the thighs to be more medieval styled, or do you want to keep that kind of arrowhead shape? Okay, you sent. Refresh. Okay, there we go. Okay. Alright, well then, let's go ahead and pop back in here. And I'm going to use the Orb Cracks 2 brush for this. I'm going to leave Lazy Mouse on, but I'm going to bring that size down quite a bit. Actually, no. A better idea. Let's bring that draw size down way lots. And we're going to try drawing freehand in masking. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Yeah. No, that's too small. Zoom in so I can make this start here. First of all, it's too much of a lazy radius. How about we tilt it while I'm thinking about it so that it's upright with respect to the belt. Okay. Now, now, it's not, I admit, it'd probably be better off with a finer draw, but it wouldn't be visible when it came time to print. Now we're going to masking, and we're going to invert the masking. And on deformation, we're going to deflate. There we go. So the end result is, you now have that engraved in the center of the buckle. And it's clearly visible as the symbol you described. Okay, so we're going to go back to, well, first of all, we're going to Dynamesh it again. This time at 768. Nope, too much. Let's make it 1024. Okay, and then we're going to polish, give it one layer of polish. Just to smooth it out and make it more obvious. And then we're going to go back to the belt. And now we're going to add stuff on the belt, mostly on the sides and the back, and a couple things on the back. So the first thing that we're going to add is a couple bags. And this one's going to be a small bag. And no, that's too far out. I need to increase the depth so that it's, because it might not be realistic sitting like that on the oh, it needs to be here. But it needs to be where it's not going to cause problems with printing. Split unmasked points. And here's going to be a big one. No. Here. Split. Well, actually, before I do that, yeah, split unmasked points. I'll worry about it when it gets done. And on this side, we're going to do another medium-sized one. We're going to be moving stuff here in a minute. And now we're going to switch to a pouch. Split. No, that pouch is still sitting on top and needs to be a depth of 15. Okay. There we go. Split unmasked points. We're going to put a kind of a big one here. No. Okay. And then just because he is an assassin and he will need stuff to work with, we're going to give him a couple potions. Okay, we're going to drop from here. Okay, so he's got widgets and gadgets and stuffs. Now we're gonna split unmasked parts, and we're gonna go through and we're going to maneuver most of these so that they're less at awkward angles. For example, with this, we're actually going to pull this one out to the side a bit. And we're going to pull it back just a little. Then we're going to shrink it, the mouse. We're going to pull out the bottom. And pull it down because it's going to be kind of a heavy bag or heavy pouch. Okay. And then the next pouch is over here. It's actually good. The bag below it, we need to grab the top of it and pull the top out a little. Like that. Yeah. Oh, let's bring it like there. The next one is right here, and we need to pull the top in and the bottom out. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Pull it down and then pull it back in. And the final one is good as it is. Well, now let's go ahead and give it just a little bit more in and out. In, there, and out. Okay. And then just grab the bottom here and pull it down. Grab the top here and pull it up. Okay, now we're going to frame out just to see. Okay, now we're going to start with we're going to merge all these belt pieces to each other. But not the because they all need one thing. They all need subdivision until they're smooth. Okay, there we go. And he's got his stuff on his belt. Now, the armor on the forearms, the thighs, and the calves. How do you want those handled? Actually, while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go ahead and just merge all of the belt parts into one, belt or no belt. After we get the armor pieces done, it'll be time to detail the cloak. Then it'll be time to add in wrinkles and bodysuit seams. We're going to do what we did around the neck to put on where sewing seams would be. Unless you want them to look actually hand sewn, we can do that too. Okay. Soda. Okay. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the arms. We're going to put just something. You can always paint them as leather if you prefer. We're going to go ahead and drop this back down to 16. And we're just going to draw on a couple rectangles. Oh, let's turn off Lazy Mouse. I just want to draw on a rectangle. No. Let's see. I know how we'll do it. Let's come from here. I'm just gonna draw on a rectangle. It's gonna go halfway up and go up to there. No, because that's not the right spot. It needs to be more like that. Yeah, there we go. Really close up here, but it's going to go halfway down. And then we're going to demask there. Okay. Now we're going to extract these, but at a slightly lower level. Extract, accept, draw, select the body, draw, and then actually let's go ahead and increase the move size. We're going to grab kind of in the middle. Grab here. No. Grab here. Pull it out. And I'm gonna pull it out a little bit in all directions. And they're going over to the other side. We're gonna do the same thing there. We're going to kind of pull around until we can see it. We're just going to pull out until we can see the edge. Okay. Now, go back to here. We're going to do what's called, we're going to make it transparent so we can see what's going on. We're also going to switch to a different brush so I can reduce the brush size. And here we're going to kind of go under. We're only going to make 2 layers on this. Okay? Instead of the multiple on the reference image. And we're going to erase. Oh, that's too much. We're going to erase down the side. And here down the side. And then just a little bit of cleanup here. We're going to move around to here. We're going to do this side. We're going to come. And again, clean up the edge. First of all, let's clean it here. And then on this side, clean up. That's it. I think you'd lose a little bit of the flavor of what you were looking at without these little angular bits. Now we extract them at 0.025. Extract, accept, draw, select him and draw. And then we go back to move so that we can just kind of grab the edges of this one, well, and move them in just a little bit. To really, once again, give it more of a overlapping plates feel. Like I said, you can paint them as if they were leather if you want. It would fit the genre a bit better than metal plates on a rogue assassin type. Okay. Now, we're going to go ahead and merge down. And we're going to Dynamesh at 512. Then we're going to Orb Cracks 1, the sub, and make it really big. Because what we're going to do is we're going to come across the top just to give it a bit of an edge. Okay, we're going to do it again just to make it a little bit sharper, but we're going to shrink it down. There we go. On the thigh, we're going to do something similar. But we're going to make it make it angled. So I'm going to switch back to the topological. I'm going to draw fill it in. Actually, let's make it asymmetrical. This leg has one large one. The other one has two pouches. How does that sound? What you just saw flash on the screen is something that has saved my bahooty multiple times, even live on this stream in the past, and that is the autosave. Okay. And again, to keep it okay, there we go. Now, just for the sake of verisimilitude, we're going to add in a strap right here, but it's just going to be a simple .015 extract. No, 0.01 extract, accept. Yeah, that's all that we need for that. So that's that side. And now we're going to put on some pouches on this side. There's also going to be a strap that the pouches are going to be sitting on top of, but we're going to put the strap on later. The way we're going to do this is we're going to get as close to vertical as we can. We're going to hide the bracers. Now watch this. We're going to hide arms and hands so that we can easily see the thigh. Okay, so the way we're going to do this, we're going to start with insert belt stuff, pouch. We're going to make two small pouches at first. Dadgummit. Forgot how that worked. Split unmasked parts. Okay, split unmasked parts. And we're going to do another one right next to it. Split unmasked parts, and then we're going to merge them together, and And then we're going to use the move tool. Grab the bottoms and pull them down. And then pull this down. Out like that, out like that, down. And then we're going to shrink this just a bit and straighten out the bottom of these pouches. Okay, now we're going to select what would normally be a rather thick mask and then unselect an equal amount in the middle. And that makes it our dual straps for these things as we extract the same size that we did for the armor. Okay, our two pouches here. What the heck? Okay. This needs to get deleted. Okay, so this will merge down to where the pouches are. Frame. We're going to subdivide it a couple times and dynamesh it at 512. Nope. Dynamesh it at 1280. Okay, so go ahead and make that visible. This is what we got so far on them. We don't need anything on the boots thanks to what we've got on the bracers and the belts and the thighs. We need to tweak the cloak, and it includes adding the hood. Geometry, subdivide it a few times. Okay, now we're going to use the move tool to do most of our initial bits and bobs. And then we're going to kind of smooth over this area right here. Two things about using the smoothing tool. Okay? The first is that the more polygons you go over, the longer it takes. So after you do it, tap 1 repeatedly. Second is that the shift key does a better job than the stylus, simply because, if you're using a tablet, simply because, well, the mouse is always on 100%. Okay. Now, the next thing we do is we're going to use the move tool. We're going to make it very large. We're going to go ahead and grab from the center, moving in, and then back this way. We're basically going to thin down the cloak this way, while also getting ready to get us to where we need to be for Okay, now we're going to grab here and pull it out. Oh, too big. That's right. Shrink it down quite a bit. Grab and pull out just to round off. Okay, now we're going to make it really big. We're going to grab here and we're going to pull down like that. And we're going to pull from here to there. Cut it in half. And pull to there. Then we're going to kind of just pull down parts and bits. And now it's time to make it raggedy. So the way we're going to do this is with the, where is it? The trim lasso. And before we do it, we're going to hide everything else. Okay. So what we're going to do is Control Shift. Now, sometimes it's the inside, sometimes it's the outside. Okay. Now, let's... Yeah. It's going to take a few minutes to do some of these copies. And not all of them will be like how I wanted them when I put them in. But it gives us a place to work from. Okay, now we're going to do a complex one. We'll shift. And I covered... No, that's not going to look good because it's going to have... Okay. And then here. Okay, there we have our little torn cloak. Now we need to add in some other holes. We can make the body visible just to get a better feel of it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to layer. Yes, layer. It sounds odd, I know. Turn off lazy mouse. Turn it up to about 70. Switch to drag rectangle, and I'm going to load in some alphas. Be exact, some of these torn cloth alphas. That was a good one. I'm gonna put it right there. Oh, first of all, that's way too much. Second off, I forgot to auto masking back face mask, simply because the inside is where we want to not worry about it. So that was too small. So we're going to increase and there. We only want small pieces. That was just to experiment. We want small pieces because big ones will cause problems. And let's go for that one over here. No. Let's increase it back to about... Yeah. That's good. And then one more. Let's get one more nice little hole. Let's make it this one and make it up here. Okay. So that was a bit too deep, so we're going to bring it back down. Yeah. Alright, now we're going to make the hood. And the way we're going to do this is very simple. We're going to draw on the shape of where the hood would be. Kind of clean off some of this. Okay. And then we're going to extract it at point 2, except draw, select the cloak and draw to get rid of the extraction. Now we're going to dynamesh it at 128. And everything we do from here on out is just making it look fancy. So we're going to bring it down and we're going to make it a little bit bigger. We're going to very lightly smooth over the edge here. Then we're going to inflate. We're going to inflate the edge up through here. Then we're going to move. And we're going to shrink it a little bit, and then we're going to grab the bottom and move it down. Oh, wrong angle. We're going to grab the bottom and move it like that to make it large enough to be taken as a hood. And then a little bit to the side, a little bit to the side. Then we go to slash. And we want to make it a little bit bigger, a lot lower, and yeah. Because what we're going to do is we're going to now subdivide it a few times, and we're going to draw the upper edge of that hood, smooth out the bottom of it, and we're going to draw. Let's go ahead and hide Mr. Body. We're going to draw in. Actually, let's use cracks 2 for that. We're going to draw inward. Oh. Like there. And then, okay, now we're going to use Move tool, shrink it down quite a bit, and we're just going to kind of move this inside the hood, just to make it hidden. And then we're going to move this to here, and this down to there. Then just a little bit of inflate around the rim to make it more printable. And smooth out there. And so we have our hood. We can actually go ahead and grab the move tool and kind of pull the hood out a little bit more, just to there. Let's go ahead and move this up to kind of emphasize that it's a separate piece here. Okay, now I'm gonna subdivide it a couple more times and dynamesh it at 250 at 512, and then smooth on the inside. There we go. About the only thing left now on our buddy himself is suit seams and wrinkles. And actually, I think we'd probably be better off going ahead. Let's merge the cloak and the hood. And then with the move tool, we're going to kind of pull the corners in and down a little. To kind of emphasize that it's like tucked in and stuff. Okay. So there we have a nice base figure. Hello, Joseph B. And hey, Todd. Okay, Cristobal. One last question. Do you want the chest piece? The pectoral plate? Again, it could be painted as leather, and it would give a bit more interest to the upper torso. It would not be exactly as it is in the drawing, I'll say that. In fact, I might do it by just simply adding in more seam. Okay, what's going to happen is this is simply going to be... Alright, let's make sure we got this in the right direction. Nope, wrong direction. Okay. Coming from here, we're going to increase the intensity to about 25. We're going to come down from here to the chest, down, and then up the center. Then we're going to come from here, we're going to come around this way, and then go up there. Just going to come from here under the underarm and over to here, and then one like that. These will be things that just add some visual interest. This one comes from here. What the? Here, down and around. And up to here. And then from here, we're going to come there. We're also going to add in a seam coming, a seam coming this way. and then coming down the inner thigh, and then this one up the inner thigh. That's all we really need there. Just little seams, little things that give it a little bit more detail, a little bit more visual interest. Now the katana, we can go ahead and just mesh smooth it, or subdivide it. And then the base, what we do with the base is it's already decimated, because I had to when I uploaded it to Thingiverse. But we want this base to be able to blend in with the figure, so we're going to Dynamesh it at 512. Okay, and then we're going to give it one thin layer of polish. Polish is under deformation, and it smooths things out. Is there anything else you want done, like any seaming or anything like that on the mask? Because the only thing left is the little micro wrinkles around the underarm, elbow, crotch, and knee. Okay. How about this? We're going to seam it in the way we did all of this. Oh, wrong way. Start from here. Come down to there. Loop around and here. No. Let's make it smaller and zoom in so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. And then coming across to there. Up to there. Okay. Then we're going to use slash. There it is. We're going to shrink it a lot. And we're going to increase the intensity. And what we're going to do here is we're going to draw on the teeth of the skull. As well as outlining where the nose would be. Actually, let's make this a little bit smaller. I'm just going to kind of, like this, outline where the nose would be. Then we're going to use the move tool, shrunk down quite a bit, and we're going to turn a couple of these teeth into fangs. Then, do you want the lower jaw on the skull too? Or will this do good? Uh. Okay, we go back to our seam 16, zoom in, and we're going to have the jaw coming from here on front. Just going to draw down. Then we're going to kind of come around just a little bit. And then we're going to use inflate made really small to draw these teeth, simply because they're already in a depression area, a depressed area. Okay. Frame. Okay. I do believe it's time for wrinkly bits, don't you? In which case we're going to hide the katana. We're also going to hide the cloak. Cloak has its own built-in wrinkles that are pretty much good for what we need. Okay. Now to do the wrinkles, what we're going to do is we're going to use the slash tool. We're going to make it very large and very dim. And first things first, we're going to add in wrinkles here. Let's increase the intensity just a little bit. And then up here, and then there, there. And then a little bit here. Now, even if you don't manage to get these printed out on an FDM printer, you know, if the wrinkles don't show well, they still add to the overall shape and form. And just these little bits here that we're doing make it stop looking like spandex bodysuit and more like what, you know, some kind of cloth or possibly even leather would look like. See, just a few strokes can make a huge change in the look of the figure. He looks less like a superhero now. we go to the crotch area for a print, which is the same basic. And there we go. Is there anything else you can think of you want to add to this guy as detailing? Let me go ahead and break open the katana and base while we're sitting here. Well, the mask is sewn on, so what we could do instead is show that it is sewn on by giving some more seams on it. For example, let's go ahead and hide the cloak so I can do this. What about a seam coming from, like, back in the center and coming up this way? And then a seam coming, well, let me hide the katana. A seam coming from below. There. Make it obvious that that's part of the cloth. In fact, let's go ahead and do that by, once again, with slash. Let's give it some. Oh. Make it clear that that's cloth. And there we go. Now, just to refresh your memory, how this works is after the show, on the Discord, message me your email address. It's a little too late. The the props need to be in place before I start sculpting. Because it would need to completely repose the left hand, among other things. Okay, now, join the Discord. Number one, that'll give you access to the Patreon file vault. All the sculpts I've done since April, or August, whenever it was when I started the Patreon. And number two, message me on Discord your email address, so I can send you the sculpt and a render of it. And for 1 week, this will only belong to you and me. Next Sunday, I'll be putting it into the file vault. That's how we handled things. As it is, this is our figure. There's still some things I have to do, but it's mostly cleanup. Fusing it all into one solid mesh, and then reducing the polygon count from 3.6 million triangles to something a little bit easier for most computers to handle, like around 100,000. Okay. So what we do is we go ahead and we merge down until everything is all in one subtool, like it is now. We go to geometry, and I just draw in midair. That didn't do anything, so that's Dynamesh. Dynamesh closing holes. There were a couple of holes somewhere then. It's now down to 2.2 million polygons because I got rid of a lot of intersecting geometry, but it's still 2.2 million polygons is too much for most slicers. So we go to Z plugin, and we go down to Decimation Master. We want to make it 50,000 points makes it 100,000 triangles, and that should be enough to handle this particular figure. So we're going to just click on here. Up at the top, it's going to say Analyzing Mesh. Then there's going to be an orange bar that goes across. It needs to go to 100%. If it stops at any point, then I need to tweak how it's doing it. Yeah, it says computing, please wait. That means it's screwed up. So what I usually do then is I'll just smooth out the bottom because the bottom's already smooth. And I'll go back down to geometry. Let's drop this from 768 to 700. And click Dynamesh. That'll bring us a little bit lower. 1.872. Undo Dynamesh. And custom. And let's try it again. Let's see how far it goes. No. Dadgummit, I hate it when it does this. Okay, it's smooth. Frame 640. Dynamesh. Okay, no, the details are still there. Let's zoom out just a little, move them up, turn off Dynamesh, and once again click Custom. I can go ahead and put this up now until tonight's sculpt. Do we have a name for this character? Okay, it looks like it's going to make it. Okay, good. It's going to make it. It's going to go from 1.54 million polygons. Reordering. Writing file to disk. Computing. To 100,252. And if you were to look at this in anything but super up close, you could not tell it had done so. You can see how the polygons are denser where it's a broad flat surface, like on the sword, on this broad flat part of the chest, and on the broad part of the cloak, and denser where they're more detailed, like the fingers or the area around the seaming. So let's go ahead and zoom out, and this is about how he will look when printed from a resin printer. And that's about how he'll look. So, does he have a name that we can save him under? Cerberus. Okay. I'm going to export him. Patron Mini's new assassin as Cerberus Assassin figure. And there we go. This is your assassin. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and pop over to here. Now, like I said, what's going to happen is I've got to do a little more cleaning up just to make sure there's no holes in the mesh. It's currently saved as an OBJ file. Most slicers can handle OBJ, some don't. So I'm going to be converting it to STL. Then I'm going to render it, and I'm going to send all 3 files to the email address that you send me over Discord. Excellent. Do you paint? Painting's good. If you don't, a suggestion, it's always great just to do something like this. All I did, I primed it. I gave it a very faint dry brush of a slightly lighter gray. It makes the details a lot easier to see if you don't plan on painting it. Anyway, since it is now 3:15, oh wow, I'm a little over that time. I'm going to be holding up my hand, and I'm going to be counting from 5 to 1. When I get to 1, I'm going to say something goofy, and be logging out until tonight's show. Tonight's show is in a little under 5 hours from now. So that's 8 o'clock Central United States time, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. So, that's going to be a 5, a 4. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to do one other thing. I forgot to refresh this page so I can catch up from any lag that might have built up over time. Okay, so I'm going to hold my hand up, and the second I can see my hand, I'm going to start my little 5-point countdown. Okay? Alright. That is going to be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Why do assassins have 2 asses? Good night.